Welcome back to my Terraria Let's Die. Again, we are playing Tom. As you can see here, I loaded up in the start location, a little bit away from the house that I saved in, so pretty much everything's basically the exact same as it was when last you left, so yeah. As you can see, now I'm standing on the anvil that I was standing on a minute ago, so everything's now exactly the same. It's just turned night, but I have the copper broadsword, and it doesn't look like there's anything major happening, so I'm going to still do a little bit. I'm going to stay near the house so I'm not caught off guard, but maybe I can take out a couple of zombies, maybe I can take out a couple of demon eyes. I do have that OP boomerang. I know none of you have seen this right now because I'm looking over in my previous part to this character's episode is still processing, but hopefully by about part 3 or 4 it'll be up and I'll have been able to read it, comments if anybody's left any. I do have a couple of people who are required by contract obligation to watch my video, and by contract obligation I mean they are friends and family, and I turn the video on their phones and or computer and tell them that they're not allowed to leave until they're done watching. So most of the comments that they have said are they have no clue what the fuck I'm talking about. So as I kind of mentioned in a previous video that I might start doing the second Terraria series with either a friend or a family member as kind of a Terraria tutorial. And well, if I do that, then things will be a little bit different. That's weird. I would have thought that would damage me. But for the most part, even if I do that series, this series will still remain. So if you like this series or this idea, you don't really have to worry too much. It's not going to change. All that will change is there will also be another series. As you can see right now, I'm kind of building a little bit of a way out. One thing that you always want to do if you're going to get yourself in a situation is make sure you have a way out. Later on, I'll have stuff like the magic mirror or the grappling hook. That'll give me the ability to get out quickly. But right now, all I pretty much have are wooden platforms. So you'll probably see me building a lot of wooden platforms, especially in these like crevices. Wooden platforms are like way OP. They're like one of the most useful items in this entire game. One of the things that's great about them is you can fall on them. You can also go through them. If you're not careful, you can fall on them. Like, you can still get damage from falling on them if you fall from too high. But, like, when you get to the underworld, one of the nice things you can do in the underworld is build a bunch of wooden platforms in a line along the entirety of the underworld. And you can make the underworld a lot safer that way. You can run along the platforms without risking falling into the lava. At the same time, there is a special type of monster called the Voodoo Demon. The Voodoo Demon, the demon is a creature that lives in the underworld. It attacks you with death scythes, like it shoots out magic scythes. And it's pretty much like one of the two basic demons in the underworld. But the Voodoo Demon's a slight variation about that. The only thing that's different about it is it carries a voodoo doll under it. The voodoo doll specifically is a voodoo doll of the guide. So, of course, it kills the guide. The wall of flesh is actually summoned whenever you throw the voodoo doll into lava. Well, a lot of things that will happen if you're not careful is you could kill a voodoo demon and drop the voodoo doll into lava without meaning to, which summons the wall of flesh before you're prepared. And, well, basically, like in this series, not being prepared for a boss means you die. With the wall of flesh, you die instantly, like if you leave the underworld. So, whereas the Eater of Worlds or the Eye of Cthulhu, I could magic mirror, and if I'm far enough away from the house, I'll be fine. With the wall of flesh, if you magic mirror away, you still die. Like, it's fine if you're playing a normal version or softcore, because you die at home, so the money and stuff that you would drop stays in your house. So the moment you spawn, it's right there. Be like, oh, I dropped 5 gold. Oh, hey, I picked up 5 gold. But in hardcore mode, you're dead, and it kills you. So, yeah, not pleasant at all. Let's see. As you can see here, I have 34 silver coins. If I remember right, it takes 50 silver coins to summon the merchant. I'm trying to get him without, like, not actively trying, but one of the reasons I'm staying out at night is to try to get a little bit of cash so that I can work towards him a little bit better. But one thing I'm going to have to do in order to summon him is build him his own house. Luckily enough, this house right here is really close to my spawn location. So I can go ahead and build upon it and build this nice little zone here. But at the same time, it's still a little bit dangerous to work at night. I still don't have any armor or anything like that. Normally, if you're going to build a house, I would suggest either building the house floating, like this one currently is, or building the house under stone. If you build the house underground, you can connect it to your elevator. If you build it above ground, like floating, you have to be a little bit careful, and you might even want to add water under it so that if you fall off of your house without meaning to, you'll still be fine. But as you can see right now, I have 3 little zombies down here that are trying to get to me, but physically can't because I am inside of it, or I have my house floating. But I still have to worry about the eyes. If I had my house buried, I would have to worry about the zombies, but I wouldn't have to worry so much about the eyes. The occasional eye might get in, but more often than not, it's just going to bounce. But, yeah. And again, most of this stuff doesn't really matter up front. Like, you see my first house. It's a simple wooden house with simple wooden walls. Has no real defenses, has nothing really special about it. And that's what you're probably going to do with your first house. Basically just someplace so that your guide doesn't do something stupid like wander around. If you noticed, my guide was pretty much stationary while it was nighttime. That's because that's his house. They'll pick a single spot and stay in it. If it's not their house, they'll do this weird walking around. They'll go indoors, outdoors, and a lot of times they'll just get themselves killed because they're stupid. But, again, like I said, I made him a house so that he doesn't do that. There's nothing worse than the guide walking in and out of the house constantly and letting zombies in. That's not exactly something I really have to worry about in this world because of the way the house is. But in a normal world, that is an actual problem. So Like, as you can see here, I'm starting to go up this mountain, away from where I've been before. Down there is where I found the iron and copper. Actually, if you see here, I just found a little bit more iron. This is iron on the ground. This is nice. It'd be a little bit nicer if it was silver or gold. Silver or gold being on the ground is a hint that there might be a floating island above it. Iron kind of hints that, but not nearly as much. Because iron has like a 1 in 5 chance of being found on ground level, where copper has like a 1 in 3 chance of being found on ground level. And it's like dirt's like 1 in 2, rock is 1 in 2, and copper's like 1 in 3, iron's 1 in 5. Silver and gold do not happen on ground level. So if you find those, it means there is either a floating island or a floating crevice above you. Floating crevices, not nearly as impressive. It basically just means that there's something above you. But normally you can see a floating crevice because you'll see the wall behind it that leads to the floating crevice. But, like, as you can see here in the background here, this is a slight floating crevice. Like, I've seen these things a lot taller and a lot higher, but you see the dirt wall in the background that connects it to the ground under it. So that's how you can kind of know about if it's one of those, and they're not nearly as impressive, so they're not really important at all. Like, so far, all you've seen me fight were green slimes. So in a minute, you're about to see me fight some blue slimes. You can kind of see a bit of a color difference between the slimes, like these two. That actually doesn't mean anything. If you notice this one jumps, he'll turn to that light blue. That's actually the shading engine. It's really cool that the lighting engine does that, but it can be a bit of a daunting thing for newer players when they see a dark blue and a light blue slime, because they don't know which one's stronger or which one's weaker, or if they should be afraid of one but fine with the other, and etc. But more than not, that's just the shading engine. As you can see, I'm pretty much mowing through these blue slimes without too much trouble. They hit me for about the same amount that I hit them for, but my sword's knockback is more than enough to deal with them. This is why I suggest going with broadswords compared to short swords. That and just about every weapon you have in the future will be a broadsword. Lightsbane is one of the first legendary type weapons. It's a broadsword made from shadow ore. After that, you have I'm trying to think, the meteorite. I don't believe there's a meteorite sword. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's a meteorite sword. The fire sword, it's a fire great sword, so of course it's a broad blade. The leaf blade, it's a jungle blade, and the Muramasu, which is the dungeon blade, are all broadswords. That and they come together as the like the second most powerful weapon in the game that I can't remember its name at the moment because I'm having a brain fart. That blade's also a broadsword, and I believe every hard mode ore is a broadsword as well. So with the silver, the gold, and the copper, silver, gold, and iron broadswords, they're pretty much just, hey, look, or the short swords are pretty much just something interesting, but they don't really go on with the idea. As you can see here, I have a purple slime. I'm only doing about 4 damage to it, but it does over 10 damage to me. That one, I was lucky. I got it in a corner. I was able to smash it around a bit. But if that one would have been on like even playing ground with me, it could have devastated me. It did 10 damage, and I was only doing 4 damage. So if it would have hit me, hit for hit, we both would have died. So 10 times 10 is over 100, or is 100, but 4 times 10 is 40. So yeah, we were literally on even playing fields. So anything higher than that, you really don't want to play with right now. Purple, like I said, is 40. Yellow goes to 45. Yellow you really don't want to mess with until you get iron at least. Like, as you can see here, I'm pretty much just... I'm getting really lucky with these ore drops on the surface. Got a lot of trees in this area, but I'm not leaving the biome, which is kind of worrying me a bit. Because normally a long forest biome means that there's corruption in this direction. It's like normally, like your starter forest biome is connected to corruption on at least one side, and you can tell that because of the forest. Well, here's kind of an interesting thing, as you can see, like with this slime. The slime floats in water. Slimes are not capable of going under the water. So you can see, like, I could actually kill this slime, even though I should have a little bit of trouble with it, just because I got underwater and got under it. By it jumping around on me, it looks stupid, and it kind of looks like a moron. I can just smack it from the belly with my sword. Okay, as you see, I'm breaking pots. Pots are good, normally at least. They, some of them will have items. Mostly they'll just have money. But, pots spawn with the world. You can't really make them or anything. So it's a good thing just to kind of go through and smash them. Also, pots spawn all over the place. Like, you'll randomly be like, oh, hey, random pot. The pots being there is one way you can tell yourself that you haven't been to this area. So if you destroy the pots a lot, you can go through and be like, oh, hey, there are pots here. This means this is a new area. This isn't really all that important this early in the game, but later in the game, when you've gone through like massive underground caverns and things, it comes in handy. Let's see here. I have about 30 copper ore, almost 25 iron ore. If I'm lucky enough and can find a little bit more iron ore, I'll go straight home. That way I can start building iron items. When you build items, what you're going to want to start with is your pickaxe. Your pickaxe will allow you to mine faster. After you get iron, like, you're pretty much set for a little while. Silver, I would really only suggest going silver for your utility items, such as the pickaxe, the hammer, and the wood axe. I wouldn't really suggest going for a silver sword. It's an upgrade, so if you're having trouble finding enough gold to get your items, feel free to go for it. But its stats increase from silver to gold is not all as beneficial as the stat increase, or I mean the stat increase from iron to silver isn't as beneficial as like the stat increase from like copper to iron. So it's one of those you can pass it up. You don't have to, and getting it can be helpful, but at the same time, passing it is acceptable. You're not gonna die because you skipped that step. As you can see here in the background, there are now pebbles in it instead of it just being a dirt wall. This means that I've entered the underground. Once you enter the underground, stuff like I can't place platforms on the background, although I can place platforms on the background of the normal dirt walls without too much trouble. There are a few other stat things that are different. Different monsters spawn in the underground. Skeletons, for example, will spawn in the underground. But this is stuff that we'll get into later. It's not actually very important right now. You can also tell that the music's different. I have the music volume set rather low right now. But here, actually, I'll just shut up for a minute and let you enjoy it. going through with it, you can kind of hear the differences between down here and up there. It's like I'm trying to get it to change over to the above ground and underground musics. There we go. But, sorry, I said I'd shut up, but I kept talking because it wasn't changing over. But you can kind of hear the differences. The music for this game is actually really well done. So, it's like when you go through and play it, the differences between underground, the different levels of underground, and the difference between underground and the underworld can all be told by the music in the background. The music in the background will also change between night and day, although it does not change between night and day when you're not on the above ground music. So that's one thing. It's a great way to tell if you're not, like, let's say you go to the bathroom or something, you have the volume on, or you're talking to someone and not paying attention, you can tell by the music that's going on what time of day it is. But if, say, you turn around, but you're underground when you do, and you do the same thing, you can't really tell the time difference because the underground music is separate. As you can see here, the sun in the background basically means that it's about to be nighttime. And I'm trying just to get a little bit more copper before it turns nighttime. It's like I was kind of hoping maybe for another iron deposit. Iron can be really useful for a few different reasons. And hey, look, I found iron. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, if you haven't seen them, here are the, this is the lighting spectrum. This is normal lighting or high-end lighting. This is trippy, I believe. Different colors have different aspects. I don't have any different light sources to show you, but I don't have any different light sources to show you, but you can tell the difference in colors between the different light sources. This is with the same color object of the trippy, but it's much less dominant. And then this last one is white, but it's passive white. So unlike the first white, where it was pretty dominant and it took over everything, you can tell this one is much more passive. It actually reaches out a little bit farther, but it's not as bright. Normally, I'll keep it on this one. For some reason, my Terraria keeps setting it back to classic white, and I don't know why, but at the same time, I'm too lazy to fix it. So, I guess you get what you ask for, right? Well, while we're here, it's nighttime now. As I showed before, now that I've gotten a better sword, I'm not walking around with a wooden weapon. I'm actually capable of defending myself during the nighttime. And I look over and notice that my previous episode actually is just finished uploading. So hopefully it should be done processing in a minute or so, if it even takes that long. I had a little bit of problem with that episode. It was processing for about half an hour, so I ended up scrapping it and re-uploading it. Well, here's me versus a zombie. As you can see, I'm still not doing anything for damage really against him, but the knockback of this weapon it has an average knockback, which is the same as my plus 15% knockback boomerang. So I'm actually hitting him, I'm not hitting him for any damage really, but because of the broadsword being a knockback weapon, I'm throwing him back far enough that he's not able to hit me directly afterwards, which gives me an advantage in the fight. Personally, I'd prefer the I make him explode after hitting him once advantage, but the not getting hit after I hit him advantage isn't too horrible. As you see with them, I hit them for 7 damage each, and then they hit me for 17 damage. That time was 19, so yeah, these guys are still dangerous. Like, they will still kill me if I'm not careful, but I do have ways to fend them off. As you saw with like the broadsword, they were being thrown back when they tried to hit me, which helps me be safe. You saw right there, I just ate a goldfish. Awkwardly enough, the goldfish gives me the potion debuff, the potion sickness, which is really weird because I didn't know goldfish were a form of a potion. I mean, I can understand with the mushroom. I picked up a couple of these, the mushrooms. The mushrooms are ingredients for the potion. So I could kind of understand one of the ingredients for a potion giving you potion sickness. Goldfish, not so much so, but hey, it's a video game. Where's logic? And, as you see, I just exploded, which means this is the end of this series, or this episode. So, Tom is gone. Poor Tom. As you can see, I'm a ghost, which means that this is hard mode, and it means that this character has now been deleted. So, have a nice day.